Innocence proves nothing. These words are not a warning. They are a verdict. They are the axiom upon which the Imperium of man is built, carved in granite letters a kilometer high above the judgment halls of the Adeptus Arbites. They are the beginning and the end of the law. To understand the 41st millennium, one must first be purged of all hope for justice. Justice is a luxury, a faded dream from a forgotten age of peace, an age that died screaming 10,000 years ago in the fires of galactic rebellion. Justice implies that the individual soul has inherent worth. It suggests that truth is a virtue to be meticulously uncovered. It whispers the most dangerous heresy of all, that a single life, your life, matters against the terrible calculus of mankind's survival. These are lies. They are the delusions of the weak, the sentimental, and the damned. The Imperium is a colossus of 1,000,000 worlds, a bastion of humanity teetering on the brink of annihilation. It is a fortress besieged from every conceivable angle. From without, the Xeno, the alien, the predator, scratches endlessly at the gates. From within, the mutant, the psyker, the heretic, and the traitor poison the wellspring of loyalty. From beyond, the unspeakable horrors of the warp claw at the fragile veil of reality, hungry for every soul. In such an age, justice is impossible. There can only be order. Absolute, crushing, unfeeling order. The masters of this order are the Adeptus Arbites. They are the enforcers of the Lex Imperialis, the gauntleted fist that smashes all who deviate, all who question, all who falter. Do not mistake them for protectors. They are not keepers of the peace. They are the jailers of an entire species. Their fortress precincts, vast, brutalist monoliths of grey ferrocrete and adamantium, rise above the choking smog and acidic rain of the hive cities. They are not sanctuaries. They are watchtowers, observation posts from which the population is scrutinized, judged, and found wanting. The arbitrator, encased in his black carapace plate, his features forever obscured by the impassive, mirrored visor of his helm, is not a seeker of truth. He is an instrument of consequence. He is the living embodiment of the Emperor's law, a law that is absolute, swift, and utterly without mercy. The Arbites do not investigate crime to find motive. They investigate transgression to identify the source of disorder. The why is irrelevant. The how is a simple matter of clerical record. All that matters is that the imperial law was broken. A manufacturing worker collapses from exhaustion, failing to meet his quota of shell casings. That is dereliction of duty, a disruption to the tithe. A citizen fails to avert his gaze when an inquisitor passes. That is impiety bordering on blasphemy. A weary guardsman takes a step back when the orc battle line charges. That is cowardice, a capital offense. A starving underhiver steals a nutrient paste bar from a shipment. That is theft of imperial property. In the cold digital logic of the Arbites, these are all the same crime. They are failures of obedience. They are cracks in the vast dam that holds back the tide of anarchy, and the Arbites are the cold, unforgiving steel that plugs the hole. In this sprawling, suffocating, teeming galaxy, human life is the single most expendable commodity. The scale is impossible for a mortal mind to grasp. 1 billion souls can be immolated in a single void engagement just to buy a battle fleet an hour of maneuvering time. An entire continent of indentured laborers can be sacrificed to rampant plague and toxic runoff just to build a single warlord titan. We are a species numbering in the uncounted quadrillions. We are a resource. We are the fuel for the fire. We are the sand in the sandbags. We are the biomass that feeds the war machine. And if life itself is a resource, then so too is guilt. The Imperium wastes nothing. This is the sacred creed of the Adeptus Administratum, the endless parchment-bound bureaucracy that chokes the galaxy in red tape. Every shattered cog is melted down. Every spent lasgun charge pack is recycled. Every drop of human waste is reprocessed into nutrient slurry. Every corpse is rendered down its water, reclaimed its biomass, repurposed into nourishment for the next generation of workers. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is permitted to be squandered. So why would the Imperium waste the guilty? Why would it discard the convicted, the traitorous, the cowardly, the failed? A clean death, a bolt to the head, a quiet exsanguination in a damp cell is an indulgence. It is a waste of potential. A body that can still hold a weapon however poorly. A pair of legs that can still advance into enemy fire. A nervous system that can still trigger a landmine. A voice that can still scream to draw the aim of a Xenos sniper. This is potential. This is an asset waiting to be liquidated. In the cold, brutal calculus of Imperial survival, every problem must be forged into a solution. Every liability must be hammered into an asset. This is the dark, pragmatic genesis of the Penal Legion. It is the ultimate expression of the Imperium's ruthless functional philosophy. It is the logical answer to the galaxy-spanning problem of what to do with the teeming unwanted and condemned masses. You do not lock them away. That requires prisons guards food and resources that could be better spent at the front. You do not simply execute them all. That is a squandering of raw, violent material. No, you weaponize their despair. You take the scum, the refuse, the human wreckage from 10,000 worlds. You gather the murderers, the recidivists, the cowards, the blasphemers, the mutants, and the merely unfortunate. You strip them of their names, their identities, their pasts, and their futures. You break them down into their component parts, fear, rage, and a desperate animalistic instinct to survive. And then you hurl them as a single, screaming, disposable weapon into the very worst hells the galaxy has to offer. A Penal Legion is not an army. An army is trained, equipped, and valued. A Penal Legion is a tool, a blunt instrument, a human shield, a living minefield. A wave of bodies sent to blunt the enemy's blades and exhaust their ammunition. They are the forlorn hope in every assault, the first to charge across the bloody no-man's land, their only purpose to die in such vast, spectacular numbers that the real soldiers, the valued regiments of the Astra Militarum, can identify the enemy's hidden gun emplacements by the streams of fire mowing the Legionnaires down. Let this be unequivocally clear, this is not a path to redemption. This is not a chance for salvation. The priests of the Adeptus Ministorum may screech sermons of the Emperor's forgiveness of absolution, earned through noble sacrifice. But this is a lie, a necessary cynical lie told to maintain what little control remains, to give the condemned just enough motive to run forward instead of backward. The truth is far colder. This is a death sentence. It is merely a postponed execution, one that has been weaponized for the good of the Imperium. It is the state-sanctioned harnessing of damnation. The Legionnaire is a dead man, walking a ghost, forced to wear flak armor, his life forfeit the moment the Arbiter's heavy gavel fell. The Imperium does not offer them a chance to live. It merely offers them a purpose in their dying. There is no hope in the Penal Legion. There is no honor. There is no escape. There is only the grinding, inexorable, soul-crushing will of the Imperium, a vast and dying machine that consumes its own children to fuel its endless, desperate war for survival. This is their story. This is the chronicle of their damnation. The net of the Adeptus Arbites is vast, its mesh woven from suspicion and paranoia. It is a net dragged through the teeming oceans of humanity, and it catches everything. The guilty, the innocent, the confused, the desperate, all are ensnared alike. In the dark, echoing halls of an Arbite's precinct fortress, the accused are processed. They are a wretched tide of human flotsam, drawn from every strata of Imperial society, each one a testament to the myriad ways a soul can fall. Here, shackled in a line of cold, damp metal, is a hive-ganger from the depths of Necromunda's underhive. His face is a roadmap of ritual scars, his eyes still burning with the feral rage of the sump. His crime murder. He killed a rival gang leader, a mundane, predictable act of violence. But the rival's gang was contracted to deliver promethium slag to a local manufacturer, and the murder disrupted the supply chain by 0.04%. He is guilty of impeding the Imperial tithe. Next to him shivers a man who until 3 days ago was a high-level clerk for the Administratum. His robes, now torn and stained with his own filth, are of fine silk. His hands are soft, uncalloused. His crime, he misplaced a decimal point. A rounding error on a logistics report for the Departamento Munitorum. A shipment of Lehman Russ tank ammunition was sent to the wrong war zone, a war zone that had fallen 6 months prior. He is guilty of gross incompetence resulting in the loss of Imperial war materiel. Further down, a woman weeps silently. She was a laborer in a textile mill. She was overheard by a foreman questioning why her work shift had been extended to 22 hours for the 3rd week in a row. She did not raise her voice. She did not strike. She simply asked. She is guilty of sedition, of questioning the authority of her superiors, of fomenting unrest, and of potentially disrupting vital manufacturum output. And beside her a broken soldier. He wears the tattered remnants of Acadian uniform, his face haunted by 100 battles. During the disastrous retreat from the Veltis sector, his platoon was ordered to hold a meaningless trench against an orc tide. Overwhelmed, his nerve broke. He was found 20 meters behind his designated firing line, attempting to reload his lasgun. He did not run. He simply faltered. He is guilty of cowardice in the face of the enemy. Here too are the true heretics. Cultists found whispering dark praise to forbidden gods, psychers who failed to control their emergent powers, thieves who stole bread from the storehouses of the ecclesiarchy. But they are the minority. The vast majority are simply failures. They are the inefficient, the unlucky, the slow, and the exhausted. The system does not care for their reasons. It does not weigh their intent. The ganger's plea of self-defense is irrelevant. The clerk's frantic apologies for a simple mistake are unheard. The laborer's desperate explanation of fatigue is seditious. The soldier's shell-shocked stare is an admission of guilt. They have all broken the monolithic, uncompromising law of the Imperium. They have all disrupted the perfect grinding efficiency of the machine. They are grit in the gears, and the machine must be cleansed. Their judgment is as swift as it is absolute. There is no trial not as a civilized mind would understand it. There is no jury of peers for all are beneath the law. There is no defense advocate, for to speak against the arbits is to confess to treason. There is only the hall of verdicts. It is a vast, cold chamber. The air smells of ozone, old sweat, and sterilizing chemicals. The accused are herded in one by one, forced to stand on a steel plate set into the floor. They face a raised dais upon which sits a single figure, the arbitrator judge. He is more monument than man, his black-plated form immobile, his face a featureless mask of mirrored chrome that reflects the accused's own terror back at them. Before him is a data slate glowing with the sterile light of the charges. He does not look at the prisoner. He looks at the slate. A synthesized grating voice crackles from a vox grill. Accused designation 774 Kilo, charges 1 count dereliction of duty, 1 count impeding tithe output. The clerk 774 Kilo opens his mouth. Please, Lord Arbitrator, it was a mistake. A simple error, I can fix it. I have served loyally for 30 years. Silence. The word cuts through the air, sharp and final. The arbitrator's gaze does not move from the slate. He makes a notation with a stylus. The plea is irrelevant. The facts are recorded. The disruption is confirmed. The penalty is absolute. The judge raises his head. The mirrored visor seems to absorb all light in the room. Designate 774 Kilo. For your crimes against the God Emperor of mankind and the holy laws of the Imperium, you are hereby sentenced to death. The clerk collapses his legs, turning to water. No, please, mercy, by the throne, mercy. The arbitrator pauses. The silence stretches thick and suffocating. However, the vox grill crackles again, the word hanging in the air. The Imperium, in its infinite magnanimity, sees fit to offer you a path. Your body is still strong. Your sin is not one of fundamental corruption, but of failure. Your sentence of death is therefore commuted. A single ragged breath of hope is drawn by the clerk. It is a mistake. Your life is forfeit. The judge continues, his voice devoid of all emotion. It no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the Emperor to be expended in service. You are hereby remanded to the Adeptus Munitorum for induction into the penal legions. Your failure will be redeemed in death on the battlefields of the Imperium. Your service is permanent. Next, the clerk is dragged screaming from the chamber by two massive, silent arbitrator enforcers. He is replaced by the weeping textile worker. Accused designation 991 Beta. Charges 1 count seditious speech, 1 count incitement to disorder. The machine processes its raw material. There is no appeal. There is no pardon. There is only the cold binary judgment. Death or service eternal. It is the same verdict spoken in 2 different dialects of damnation. The verdict is passed. The great stone doors of the judgment hall slam shut. What follows is not imprisonment. It is processing. They are cargo now, a consignment of flesh. They are herded hundreds at a time into vast, unlit, unheated transport holds. The hatches are sealed. The great engines roar a vibration that rattles teeth and bone. And then darkness. A darkness that lasts for weeks. Or is it months time ceases to exist, replaced by a painful, immediate present? They are packed shoulder to shoulder, a single, vast, squirming mass of humanity. The air becomes unbreathable, a hot, wet fog of unwashed bodies, of urine, excrement, and the sweet, sharp tang of blood. There are no guards in the hold. None are needed. The hold itself is the jailer. Once per cycle, automated nozzles in the ceiling spray a thin, tepid nutrient gruel onto the floor. This is feeding time. It is a spectacle of pure animalistic desperation. The strong, like the hive ganger, quickly establish brutal hierarchies, claiming the spots directly beneath the nozzles, beating the weak back with fists and makeshift shivs. The weak, like the administratum clerk, cower in the corners, licking moisture from the bulkheads, and starve. Violence is the only law. Sickness is the only authority. A coughing plague, the hold rust, rips through the compartment. Men and women die, their bodies left to be trampled into the filth underfoot. This is the first purge. The Imperium, in its cruel wisdom, sees no reason to transport a body to a war zone if it is too weak to survive the journey. The clerk does not survive. He is beaten to death for a half-rotten piece of leather boot he was trying to chew. The soldier, hardened by the trenches, endures. He sits his back to a bulkhead, knees drawn to his chest, his eyes vacant, conserving every calorie, every breath. Suddenly, after an eternity of black, the world explodes. A screech of metal on metal, and the main hatch cracks open. Light. Blinding, agonizing. A white chemical sterile light that burns their dark, accustomed eyes. High-pressure nozzles blast icy, stinking water into the hold, a brutal deluge that knocks them from their feet, washing away the accumulated filth and the weakest of the survivors. Electroprods wielded by hulking Ogrin servitors crackle and descend, driving the survivors out naked and shivering onto a vast metal deck. They are in a transit station, an orbital facility the size of a moon. The scale is industrial. They are driven by more servitors, smaller, multi-limbed, moving with inhuman, jerking steps. This is the baptism of steel. First, the shavers. Mind-wiped servitors. Their eyes milky and vacant wield industrial clippers. They are not gentle. They shear the hair from every head, male and female, in rough, tearing motions, leaving behind bloody patches of scalp. Hair is identity. Identity is heresy. Next, the tattooist. They are forced into a line, each prisoner's head locked into a metal brace. A multi-jointed mechanical arm descends, a high-frequency needle buzzing at its tip. It is an auto-scribe. It lowers to the soldier's face. He grits his teeth, but makes no sound as the needle stabs into his cheek just below the eye. The machine etches his new name. Not a name. A designation. PL779 Alpha Rho. The textile worker screams as the needle is driven into her chest, carving her identification code directly over her heart. Their past is erased. They are no longer citizens. They are assets. They are statistics in the great bloody ledger of the Munitorum. And the final station. This is the most important one. Here they are met by a figure in heavy stained robes, a low-ranking tech priest, or perhaps just a bondsman. He stinks of holy oils and burnt circuitry. One by one he pulls a heavy metal collar from a crate. The disciplinary collar. It is not a new device. It is pitted, scarred, and dark with old, dried blood. It is clamped around the soldier's neck. It is heavy, cold. Its mechanism is crude but effective. A heavy-gauge magnetic lock snaps shut with a solid thud and an echoing click. It is the sound of absolute finality. The soldier's hand unconsciously rises to touch the cold metal. He feels the nodes, the charging port, and the unmistakable bulge of the explosive pack positioned directly over his larynx. This is the emblem of their new life. This is the leash. This is the ultimate expression of their worth. A Vox receiver within it is tuned to a single frequency, that of their assigned commissar. With a single word, a single press of a button, his head will cease to exist. The collar is the physical embodiment of the arbitrator's judgment. It is the constant crushing reminder of their status. They are not soldiers. They are bombs. They are living weapons whose primary function is to obey and whose secondary function is to die. The ganger growls, baring his teeth at the bondsman. The bondsman doesn't flinch, merely slaps the collar on his neck and locks it. The ganger's hands fist around it, pulling, but it doesn't budge. For the first time, he feels the cold touch of a chain he cannot break. Obedience, or immediate messy annihilation, the choice has been made for them. They are disgorged into a vast, open pen. The ground is not rock or soil, but a knee-deep slurry of rust-colored mud and industrial effluent chilled by a merciless chemical-laced rain that falls from a bruised purple sky. The perimeter is a 30-meter-high wall of razor wire and crumbling ferrocrete, punctuated by watchtowers where auto-turrets slick with rain traverse in slow, menacing arcs. The Legionnaires, hundreds of them shaved, branded, and collared, are forced into a crude, shivering formation by Ogrin servitors, who club any stragglers with their massive, electrified shock mauls. A figure stands before them on a raised platform, immaculate, his black leather greatcoat shedding the toxic rain. He is a man, but he seems carved from obsidian and anger. The peaked cap of his office bearing the skull and laurel of the commissariat is pulled low, casting his features in shadow. All they can see is the grim set of his jaw and the crimson sash of his office. This is Commissar Varus. He does not shout. His voice, enhanced by a small voxcaster at his throat, cuts through the wind and rain with the sharp, cold clarity of breaking glass. Look at me. The shuffling and moaning subsides, replaced by a terrified focus. You are not soldiers. Soldiers have honor. Soldiers have rights. Soldiers have the love of the Emperor. You have nothing. You are the dregs, the failures, the traitors, the mistakes. You are the guilt and the sin of a galaxy given form. He paces the platform, his gloved hands clasped behind his back. You have all been sentenced to death by the holy arbitrators of the Adeptus Arbits. Your lives are forfeit. Make no mistake, you are already dead. A collective, shuddering breath passes through the crowd. Your sentence has been passed. The Emperor, in his infinite judgment, has merely decreed that your deaths must have meaning. Your souls are so stained, so utterly corrupted, that only in the crucible of war, only by the utter annihilation of your worthless bodies in service to him, can even the smallest mote of your sin be cleansed. He stops pacing. Your bodies are now the property of the Adeptus Munitorum. They are on loan from the Emperor himself. You will not damage them without cause. You will not hesitate. You will not falter. You will not question. Your only purpose is to die usefully. A rough, snarling laugh breaks the silence. It is the hive ganger, the one branded 400 Golgotha. He spits a thick gob of bloody phlegm into the mud. Go float yourself, corpse worshipper. I ain't no one's property. This collar, you think this scares. Varus does not look at him. He does not raise his voice. He simply lifts his left hand, tapping a control on his wrist-mounted data slate. Designate 4551 Golgotha. Offense insolence, punishment absolute. There is a single high-pitched electronic whine. For less than a second, the collar on the ganger's neck glows a dull cherry red. Then a wet percussive thump. It is not a clean decapitation. The explosive charge is designed for crude, terrifying efficiency. The ganger's head vanishes in a cloud of red mist, pulverized bone, and vaporized brain matter. The headless corpse stands rigid for 1-2 seconds, blood fountaining from the cauterized, smoking ruin of its neck. Then it collapses forward, splashing into the mud. A wave of sickness and terror ripples through the Legionnaires. The textile worker PL991 Beta screams a raw, piercing sound that is cut short as she doubles over and vomits. The soldier PL779 Alpha Rho just stares, his knuckles white, his breath hitched. He has seen death, he has seen brutal death, but he has never seen this. This was not war. This was pest control. The commissar lowers his hand, his expression utterly unchanged. This, he says, his voice still perfectly calm, is your new god. This, he taps the detonator on his slate again, is the voice of the Emperor. It demands only one thing, obedience. You will learn it, or you will be purged. Are there any further questions? The silence is absolute, broken only by the rain, the weeping of the textile worker, and the distant mechanical whir of the auto turrets. Good. Your re-education begins now. This is the Crucible. It is not training. Training implies a desire to improve a soldier's skill, to increase his chances of survival. The Crucible is designed to do the opposite. It is designed to cull the weak, shatter the rebellious, and condition the survivors to run forward into gunfire, because the alternative, the certainty of the collar, is so much worse. You will proceed to the far trench. A klaxon blares the voice of Varus, now amplified across the entire pen. The purgation run is 500 meters. The Emperor protects the swift. The slow displease him. Advance. Sirens wail. The Legionnaires look at each other in panic. Then the Ogrin servitors at their backs roar and charge, their electro-mauls swinging. They run. They scramble and claw at each other, falling into the mud, driven by pure terror. They are running across an open field choked with razor wire and the rusted skeletons of old war machines. And then the auto turrets in the watchtowers open fire. They are not firing to miss. The thwack, thwack, thwack of heavy stubber rounds rips through the air. Men and women are torn apart. They are not targets, they are chaff. A man gets his leg caught in the razor wire. He screams for help. No one stops. The stubber rounds find him, and he is reduced to a twitching pile of ruined flesh. The soldier 779 Alpha Rho runs. He does not think. He puts his head down and pumps his legs, the instincts of the trench line taking over. He hurdles a coil of wire, feeling the rounds snap past his ear. He dives, skidding on his chest through the mud, and tumbles into the receiving trench on the far side. He lands on a pile of other survivors, gasping, shaking, covered in mud and the blood of the unlucky. The textile worker 991 Beta makes it seconds later, collapsing in a sobbing heap. Her arm is laid open to the bone by the wire, but she is alive. Of the 300 who started the run, perhaps 200 remain. The klaxon blares again. On your feet, the march begins. There is no rest. They are herded out of the trench and into a kilometer-wide slough of bubbling, iridescent chemicals. This world is poisoned by the archenemy Varus's voice booms from a chimera transport that follows them, its hull sealed against the toxins. Your faith is your only ablution. March. They wade into the corrosive slime. It burns. It seeps into their boots, scalding their skin. Men begin to cough, spitting up black bile. Those who collapse from the fumes or the pain are left to sink into the toxic bog. The fatality rate is not a problem. It is the point. This is the forge. It is not meant to create soldiers. It is meant to burn away the human being, leaving only a crude, terrified, obedient tool, hardened by fear and ready to be broken upon the anvil of war. The Crucible's survivors, fewer now, thinned by the wire, the stubbers and the chemical fires, are herded into another, wider pen. The rain has not stopped. The mud is a cold, greedy soup that sucks at their boots. In the center of the pen sit a dozen rusted, open-topped metal containers. Armory Issuer Servitor's amplified voice blares. Each unit will retrieve one primary armament, one charge pack, and a loaded flak components. Waste is treason. Sloth is death. There is no orderly line. It is a desperate scramble. The Legionnaires swarm the containers, fighting and clawing for the best pieces from the pile of Imperial refuse. This is not the finely crafted equipment of the Astra Militarum. This is the dross, the sweepings from 1,000 battlefields hastily salvaged, barely repaired and reissued. The soldier PL-779 Alpha Rho pulls a flak vest from the pile. The plasteel plate over the chest is cracked, a dark spiderweb pattern spreading from a hole the size of a bolt round. He reverses it, hoping the backplate is more solid. It is not. He retrieves a helmet. It has no visor, and the internal Vox unit is just a tangle of ripped wires. Then the weapon. He shoves another Legionnaire aside and pulls a lasgun from the crate. His hands, trained by years of service, automatically check the weapon. His heart sinks. It is a triplex Mars pattern marked 3rd. A notoriously volatile model decommissioned from most line regiments for its tendency to suffer catastrophic power cell venting. The stock is cracked, bound with frayed, dirty tape. The barrel is slightly warped. He is handed a single power pack. It feels light. He checks the charge indicator. It glows a weak, flickering amber. Half full. Enough for perhaps 30 shots. Not enough for a battle, but enough for a single, suicidal charge. He looks at the others. The textile worker 991 Beta struggles under the weight of her own flak plates. She holds her lasgun awkwardly, as if it is a venomous snake, the muzzle pointed dangerously at her own foot. They are a grotesque parody of an army. A legion of scarecrows armed with scrap, their ill-fitting, damaged armor giving them a broken, disjointed silhouette. They look less like soldiers and more like the walking dead, which in truth they are. As the last Legionnaire retrieves a cracked boot, a new figure mounts the platform where Varus had stood. This man is not the cold, sharp instrument of discipline. He is a different terror altogether. He wears the black robes of the Adeptus Ministorum, stained with sweat and mud. His face is gaunt, his eyes burning with a wild, feverish light. A chain holding a heavy iron aquila is wrapped tight around his fist. This is Preacher Malachi, a confessor assigned to the damned. He raises his arms, and his voice, raw and grating, screams through the vox-hailers, drowning out the rain. Sinners, wretches, filth. He spits the glob, landing in the mud near the platform. You stand before the Emperor, naked in your shame. You are the corruption that festers in the heart of the Imperium. You are cowardice, you are failure, you are the rot that must be scoured. The arbitrators judged you. You were found wanting, you are all damned. He pauses, his chest heaving. His wild eyes rake across their faces. But you are the blessed, he roars, the sudden shift in tone shocking them to silence. Blessed, for unto you, the most wretched of his children, the God Emperor has granted a gift denied to the righteous billions who toil in the hives. He has granted you a path. He points a trembling, accusing finger at the crowd. The path to redemption, the path to absolution. You have been given the divine privilege of washing your sin clean in the blood of the Xeno, in the acidic gore of the heretic. He pounds his chest with his iron-wrapped fist. Others may fight for glory or for duty or for wealth. You will fight for your very souls. You have been given the most precious gift of all, the Emperor's forgiveness. A murmur spreads, a word they had not dared to think. Forgiveness. It is a lie, the soldier 779 Alpha Rho whispers to himself, his grip tightening on the faulty lasgun. It is not a lie. Malachi shrieks, as if hearing his thought. The pact is sealed. The promise is iron. The Munitorum may own your bodies. The Commissar may hold your lives in his hand. But the Emperor himself watches your souls. Fight with the fury of the damned who see the light of paradise. Fight and survive. Survive long enough, his voice drops to a conspiratorial, zealous hiss. Fight hard enough, and your slate will be wiped clean. The commissar will be ordered. The collar will be struck from your neck. Your sin will be forgiven. You will be free. You will walk once more as a true servant of the Emperor." He throws his head back and laughs, a sound like grinding stone. Imagine it. Freedom, all it costs is your blood. All it costs is the death of his enemies. The lie hangs in the air. It is a beautiful, intoxicating, and utterly false promise. But it is the only promise they have. For the first time, a flicker of something other than terror appears in their eyes. The textile worker 991 Beta looks at her laser gun. Her grip tightens. It is no longer a snake. It is a key, a chance. Commissar Varus watches from the shadow of a transport vehicle, his face impassive. He sees the change in them. The fear of his collar would make them obey. But this lie, this beautiful, treacherous lie, this would make them fight. Your new lives begin now. Malachi screams, his voice cracking with ecstatic fervor. You are no longer prisoners. You are the penitent. You are the Emperor's wrath. Now, go forth and die for him. There is no time to contemplate the lie. The klaxons that blared for their training never truly stop. They are the heartbeat of this new life. Before the echoes of Preacher Malachi's sermon have faded, the Legionnaires are herded, prodded, and clubbed into the vast, lightless holds of troop landers. The journey is short, brutal, and filled with the stench of recycled air and terror sweat. They are disgorged onto a world that is already a graveyard. The sky is a bruised, churning yellow, choked with the smoke of continent-spanning fires. The ground is a wasteland of shattered rockcrete and twisted metal, the bones of a city pulverized by orbital bombardment. The air screams. It is a constant deafening shriek of artillery shells, close and distant, a symphony of annihilation. They are in a trench, but it is not a trench of defense. It is a launching pen, a starting line. An officer of the Astra Militarum, his Cadian pattern uniform crisp and clean, stands on the trench's rear parapet, looking down on them with an expression of pure, undisguised contempt. He holds a data slate. He is not speaking to them. He is speaking at them. The tactical situation is simple scum, he says, his voice flat and bored over the din. The enemy Orc designator, Grax Skull Smashers, holds the primary communication spire at grid reference 88 Delta. That is, he points with his stylus across a kilometer of shell-blasted mud, the large broken tower directly in front of you. He doesn't wait for them to look. The enemy is heavily dug in, multiple heavy bolter nests in trenched positions, and an unknown quantity of scrap artillery. He taps his slate. The plan is as follows. You will advance from this position directly to that one. He traces a single straight line in the air. You will engage the enemy. You will draw their fire. He pauses, and a faint, cruel smile touches his lips. When the enemy reveals their primary weapon emplacements by firing upon you, the artillery batteries of the 14th Cadian and the Devastator squads of the Emperor's spears will target those positions. The real assault wave will follow your reconnaissance. Do not stop. Do not take cover. Do not wait for orders. The first unit to reach the enemy line will be noted. He does not mention what noted means. It doesn't matter. This is not a battle plan, the soldier 779 Alpha Rho mutters, his hands white on his laser gun. This is a fatality report, waiting to be written. He means we're the bait, the textile worker 991 Beta whispers, her face pale, her eyes wide with a sickness that goes beyond fear. We are not bait. The soldier replies, his voice dead. Bait is meant to be taken. We are a screen. We are moving targets to absorb ammunition. We are walking mine detectors. Silence in the ranks. Commissar Varus roars. He stands 30 paces behind them on the edge of the trench, his bolt pistol drawn. He is flanked by two more commissars, their own weapons out their faces, hidden by the shadows of their peaked caps. They are not going with the charge. They are the shepherds driving the flock to slaughter. Fix bayonets, Varus commands. A clatter of metal as the Legionnaires clumsily attach their crude, untempered knives to the muzzles of their faulty laser guns. A whistle, high and piercing, cuts through the artillery scream. Charge, Varus bellows. For the Emperor, for your souls advance. For a second nobody moves. They are a solid mass of terror, frozen by the sheer suicidal impossibility of the order. A head in the front rank explodes, a wet thump. Varus calmly lowers his smoking bolt pistol. Advance! A second head explodes, a third. The collars begin to whine. That is the signal. The sound that breaks the paralysis. The realization that the death behind them is certain, instantaneous and ignoble, while the death in front. That is at least a chance. The lie of redemption, the terror of the collar, and the primal instinct to flee pain all combine into a single, ragged, inhuman scream. And they run. 500 men and women, the murderers, the clerks, the cowards, the unlucky scramble up the muddy trench ladders and pour over the top. There is no tactic. There is no formation. There is only a chaotic, desperate stampede. They run heads down, screaming, crying, or praying. The soldier 779 Alpha Row runs with them. He keeps his eyes on the ground, scanning for the telltale prongs of buried mines, vaulting over the rusted coils of razor wire. For 10 seconds, the only sound is their own screaming and the thunder of the distant friendly artillery. The orc positions are silent, watching. Then the world ends. A heavy, guttural daka 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 rips the air apart. The sound of orc heavy stubbers' death guns is a physical blow. The front line of Legionnaires disintegrates. They don't just fall, they are torn into bloody rags. A man beside 779 Alpha Row is hit in the chest. The impact is so violent it spins him around a cloud of red mist where his torso was. He is dead before he hits the mud. More guns open up. Green tracer fire, thick as ropes, crisscrosses the no man's land. The screams of the Legionnaires become shrieks of agony. Keep moving! 7R79 Alpha Row screams, grabbing 991 Beta by the ripped flak vest and dragging her forward. Don't stop. If you stop, you die. Boom! A crude orc mortar shell lands in a dense cluster of runners. The explosion is a cloud of filthy black smoke shrapnel and severed limbs. A man to their left, his leg blown off at the knee, tries to crawl back. He is weeping, his face a mask of mud and terror. Help me. Please, I don't want to. He never finishes. The high-pitched whine of his collar is audible even over the gunfire. Thump. His head vanishes. The soldier 779 Alpha Row glances back. Through the smoke he can see them. The line of commissars. Varus is standing with his arms crossed, watching his bolt pistol holstered. He is using the wrist detonator. He is an artist of terror, calmly curating the charge. Any who falter, any who turn, any who seek cover for more than a second are executed. Another man drops, clutching his stomach. He doesn't try to run back. He just lies there, moaning. Varus spots him. Thump. He's killing us! 991! Beta shrieks hysterically, firing her laser gun uselessly into the air. The bright red beam vanishes into the smoke. Of course he is! 779 Alpha Row snarls, pulling her down into a fresh shell crater, the mud sucking at them. That's his job. Stay down, but not for long. The ground in front of them erupts. A whoomp 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 as a row of buried mines triggered by the wave of bodies explodes in a chain reaction. A dozen Legionnaires are thrown into the air like broken dolls. It is a meat grinder. They are being fed into a machine of death. From the front, the orcs slaughter them with gleeful abandon. From the back, their own masters execute them for hesitation. Look, 779, Alpha Row yells, pointing. High above a new sound, the thunderous roar of incoming heavy shells. They see them. The Cadians see the guns they're firing. A series of colossal explosions rocks the orc lines. The real artillery has spoken, guided by the trail of Legionnaire corpses. The Daka Daka falters for a moment. Now run while they're blind. He grabs 991 Beta and hauls her to her feet. They run leaping over the bodies of their comrades, their boots slipping in pools of blood. They are maybe 200 meters from the orc trench. Of the 500 who started, perhaps 100 are still on their feet. The charge has served its purpose. The enemy guns are mapped. The mines are cleared. The first wave is annihilated. and somewhere a kilometer behind them, the real soldiers of the Cadian 14th are mounting their chimeras, ready to begin the real assault. The charge is over. The real Cadian assault, supported by the artillery that the Legionnaire's deaths had targeted, has succeeded. The broken communication spire is now in Imperial hands. For the survivors of the Penal Legion, there is no rest. There is no victory. There is only a new trench, this one freshly captured from the orcs. It stinks of greenskin filth fungal spores and the charred remains of the Xenos. The soldier 779 Alpha Row is mechanically stripping a power cell from the lasgun of a dead Legionnaire, his own now depleted. The textile worker 991 Beta sits nearby, shivering uncontrollably, her eyes wide and vacant, her hands still locked in a death grip on her own weapon. They are part of perhaps 80 survivors huddled in the captured trench, a broken, blood-spattered remnant. Then a shadow falls over them. Commissar Varus appears on the parapet above, stepping down into the trench with a deliberate, unhurried pace. His black greatcoat is spotless. His boots are polished. He did not run. He did not bleed. He is an alien presence among them, a creature of cold iron and absolute authority. He is not a commander inspecting his troops. He is a jailer walking his cell block. The Legionnaires freeze. Those who were whispering fall silent. Those who were tending to minor wounds stop as if ashamed. They instinctively press themselves against the trench wall, trying to become invisible. All they hear is the crunch of Varus's boots on the muddy ground, a sound more terrifying than any artillery shell. He walks the line, his gaze sweeping over them. His face is a mask of pure, controlled contempt. In his eyes, they are not survivors. They are not heroes. They are simply the remainder, the portion of the ammunition that did not expend itself. They are a logistical problem to be managed. His bolt pistol is not in its holster. It is in his hand. He holds it with the casual familiarity of a craftsman holding his primary tool. It is not just a weapon. It is his gavel, his scepter, his voice. He stops in front of a large, brutish Legionnaire who is trying to conceal something under his flak vest. Varus says nothing. He simply raises the bolt pistol and points it at the man's chest. "Show me." His voice is low-cold. The man's hands tremble. He pulls out a jagged, heavy orc chopper, its blade dark with old blood. It's better than the knife, Commissar. Just for... Varus's expression does not change. "You are issued Imperial arms? You will carry only Imperial arms? To carry the filth of the Xeno is to invite its corruption." But the bolt pistol shot is deafening in the confined space. Boom! The round is a mass-reactive shell. It strikes the man in the shoulder, not his head. The explosion is contained, but it rips his entire arm from his body in a catastrophic eruption of gore. The man is hurled against the trench wall, screaming, clutching the smoking, cauterized ruin of his shoulder. Varus does not look at the screaming man. He looks at the others. Contraband is heresy. Heresy is death. He turns his gaze back to the wounded Legionnaire, who is now writhing and shrieking in the mud, his screams high and panicked. This is disorder. He walks over to the man. The Legionnaire looks up, his face a mask of agony and terror. "Please, Lord, mercy. I didn't..." "The Emperor is merciful," Varus says, his voice flat. He raises the bolt pistol, this time to the man's head. "He grants you the blessing of silence." Boom! The screaming stops. Varus holsters his weapon, wiping a fleck of blood from his glove onto the trench wall. This is the Commissar of a Penal Legion. He is not here to inspire. He is not here to lead. He is here to enforce. He is the stick. There is no carrot. The promise of freedom from Preacher Malachi is for the battlefield, a tool to make them run forward. In the trench, there is only Varus. He is the living embodiment of the Imperium's disgust. He hates them for their failure, for their sin, for the fact that his duty binds him to the likes of them. He continues his patrol. He finds another Legionnaire, a young man barely 20, half buried in a collapsed section of the trench. His legs are trapped under a fallen girder. He is alive, but his lower body is a crushed ruin. He is sobbing quietly. Commissar, I'm stuck. I can't feel my legs." Varus stops and looks down at him. The other Legionnaires watch breathless, anticipating the inevitable boom. But Varus just studies him. What is your designation? PL 1 to 13 Epsilon, sir. I ran. I fired my weapon. You are trapped, Varus states. Not a question. A fact. Yes, sir. Please, get me out. Negative, Varus says. The Cadian engineers will be reinforcing this position. They will require the trench to be cleared. You are an obstruction. The boy's eyes widen. No, please. You can just pull me out. I can still. You can still what Varus asks. You can still bleed. You can still cry. You can still consume rations. You are broken. 113 Epsilon. Your service is complete. Please, the boy shrieks, his plea turning desperate. Don't by the throne. No. Varus does not waste another bolt round. He simply gestures with his chin to two of the larger, stronger Legionnaires. This unit is malfunctioning. He is a distraction to the morale of the line. Silence him. The two Legionnaires look at each other, horrified. Sir, Varus's hand moves not to his pistol, but to the detonator on his wrist. Are you disobeying a direct order, PL 779 Alpha Rho? He asks, his gaze falling on the soldier. Is this Legionnaire with you? 779 Alpha Rho feels the cold sweat on his neck. He feels the faint phantom itch of the collar. He looks at the trapped boy. He looks at Varus. No, sir, 779 Alpha Rho, says his voice, a hoarse croak. He steps forward. I understand. He pulls out his crude bayonet. He does not look at the boy's face. No, friend, no, please. 779 Alpha Rho shuts his eyes and plunges the blade into the boy's heart. The screaming gurgles and stops. Varus nods once satisfied. Your only release from service is death. Your only motivation is to die as I command it. Remember that. He turns and continues his patrol, leaving the soldier shaking his hands covered in the blood of another Legionnaire. The crushing of the soul has begun. There is no after the battle. There is only the brief gasping pause before the next one. The 80 survivors of the Penal Legion are ordered to hold the captured Orc Trench. The real soldiers of the Cadian 14th have moved on, pressing the main attack, leaving the filth, the unburied corpses, and the most vulnerable flank to the expendables. Night falls. The toxic rain returns heavier this time, turning the bottom of the trench into a thick, ankle-deep sludge of mud and Xeno's blood. The distant screams of artillery have been replaced by a new sound, the chittering skittering of something in the dark beyond the razor wire, and the occasional guttural wah of an Orc patrol probing their line. This is where the soul-crushing moves from the external to the internal. The enemy in front is a fact. The commissar behind is a law of nature. The true corrosive poison is the man standing next to you. The soldier 779 Alpha Rho sits with his back against the muddy trench wall, his faulty laser gun across his knees. He is trying to clean the action with a strip of cloth torn from his own tunic. The textile worker 991 Beta is huddled a meter away. She is shivering violently, her teeth chattering. Her untreated wound is inflamed, and the cold is seeping into her bones. She is a liability. Her chattering is loud. Her shivering is a distraction. 779 Alpha Rho watches her for a full minute, his face grim. He knows with the cold pragmatism of the trench that she will likely be dead by morning, either from the cold or from a bullet she was too slow to avoid. He curses low and soft. He reaches into a pouch and pulls out his ration, a single dense grey bar of nutrient paste glistening with chemical preservatives. It is meant to last him 36 hours. He breaks it in half with a grunt of effort and shoves one half at her. Eat, he growls. Her eyes wide and dull focus on the bar. She takes it with a trembling, filth-encrusted hand. Why? She whispers. Because your chattering is loud enough to draw fire, he lies, turning back to his laser gun. Eat. Get calories. Stop. Shaking. You'll be useless in the morning. She eats wolfishly, her sobs choked by the thick, chalky paste. It is not an act of kindness. It is an act of maintenance. He is maintaining a piece of equipment. In this place there is no trust. There is no friendship. There is only proximity. There is only the animalistic need to huddle together, because a group of two is a slightly larger target than a group of one. An older Legionnaire, his face a ruin of scar tissue, overhears them. He lets out a dry, rasping chuckle. Heard a story, you know he whispers, his voice barely carrying over the rain. About the Lion's Pride Penal Legion on Gethsemane. Fought the Nids for 20 years, 20, weren't but a dozen left. He pauses, a strange, distant look in his one good eye. The Lord General himself came down, took their collars off, gave them a full pardon, full honors, shipped them all to a pleasure world, died of old age surrounded by wine and women. 779 Alpha Row snorts, not looking up. That's a bolt gun round of crap, old man. Aye, the old man sighs, a ghost of a smile on his lips. Aye, it is. But it's a good story, ain't it? Better than this. This is their comradeship. Not a bond of loyalty, but a shared, desperate need to believe the lie, to share the moldy crust of hope, even when they all know it's poisoned. The precarious balance is shattered at dawn, a simple graying of the toxic sky. A crate of nutrient paste bars is thrown into the trench, the same inadequate amount as the day before. It is a piranha-like frenzy. The Legionnaires fight punch and claw for the bars. One Legionnaire, a gaunt, hollow-eyed man, is too slow. He gets nothing. He watches as another man, bigger, stronger, smugly bites into his stolen ration. The gaunt man's eyes are filled with a desperate, animalistic hunger. He sees Commissar Varus standing on the parapet above, sipping what looks like hot, steaming recaf from a tin mug. The gaunt man scrambles up the trench side. Lord Commissar. Varus looks down, his expression one of profound annoyance. What? A report, sir, that one? The gaunt man points a shaking finger at the man who has his ration. PL 440 Jonas, I heard him saying this was a trap. He said he was going to try and surrender to the orcs' AI as soon as they charged. The accused man 440 Jonas freezes his mouth full of paste. What, you lying piece of filth, I said no such. Silence. Varus's voice cuts through the air. He studies the accused. He studies the accuser. He knows with the cold, absolute certainty of his office that this is a lie born of hunger. And he does not care. The thought of surrender is a contagion, Varus says, his voice deceptively calm. It cannot be permitted to fester. Your accusation, true or not, has given it voice. The only cure is purity. He doesn't even draw his pistol. He taps his wrist slate. Designate 440 Jonas. Offense sedition. Punishment absolute. Thump. 440 Jonas's head explodes, spraying the accuser with hot blood and pulverized bone. The headless corpse slumps over. The accuser is shaking his face, a mask of his comrade's gore, but he stands his ground. Throne be praised, sir, he stammers. The rot is purged. Varus looks down at him with an expression of utter revulsion, as if looking at a maggot. He pulls a second nutrient bar from his own pack and throws it into the mud at the accuser's feet. Your vigilance is noted. Now retrieve that man's weapon and his ration and get out of my sight. The accuser scrambles, weeping with relief, grabbing the 2 bars and stuffing them into his tunic. He has bought himself 2 more days of life. Every Legionnaire in the trench has seen the transaction. Every one of them now sees their neighbor not as a comrade, but as a potential meal ticket. The ultimate corrosion, however, happens when the Commissar is not looking. Later that day, in a quiet, collapsed section of the trench, 779 Alpha Row is on watch. He sees the brute. The one who had his arm blown off for carrying the orc chopper is long dead. This is a new one, a giant of a man from a feral world, his skin covered in ritual scars. He corners a smaller Legionnaire. 779 Alpha Row can't hear the words, only the intent. The smaller man has a good pair of boots clearly salvaged from a dead Cadian. The feral worlder's boots are cracked and held together with wire. There is a brief, grunting scuffle. It is fast, silent, and economical. The feral worlder doesn't use his laser gun. The sound would bring the Commissar. He uses his bayonet. He shoves it hard into the smaller man's kidneys. Once. Twice. The smaller man gurgles, his eyes wide with shock, and slides down the trench wall. The feral worlder doesn't pause. He sits, pulls the high-quality boots from the still twitching feet, and calmly swaps them for his own broken pair. He looks up, and his dead eyes meet 779 Alpha Rose. There is no malice, there is no anger. It is a simple unspoken statement to "These are my boots now. You saw nothing." 779 Alpha Rho looks away. He turns his gaze back to the no man's land. This is not his fight. This is not his concern. The orcs are the enemy. Varus is the jailer. But the Legionnaire next to you, he is the one who will kill you for your boots. The soul is not just crushed by the enemy. It is devoured by its own. Weeks, or perhaps months, bleed into one another. The concept of time is lost, replaced by a simple, brutal cycle. Hurl themselves at an enemy, die in vast numbers, huddle in a captured trench, and wait for the next suicidal order. The faces change. The old man who told the story is gone, vaporized by a mortar. The feral worlder who killed for boots was in turn killed for his laser gun charge pack. Only the most durable, the most ruthless, or the most agonizingly lucky remain. 779 Alpha Rho and 9921 Beta are by some grim miracle still among them. She is no longer a textile worker. The trauma has burned away her past, leaving a hollow-eyed, twitchy survivor who cleans her laser gun with a chilling, obsessive focus. The Legion has been transferred. A new world, a new war. This time the trenches are deeper, the mud slick with a black, oily substance, and the enemy is the lost and the damned traitor guard regiments who have turned their backs on the Emperor. Their new orders are not delivered by a Cadian officer, but by a figure in the blood-red robes of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The tech priest Magos Explorator Drath speaks in a monotone, synthesized buzz, his organic components long since rotted away and replaced by whirring, clicking metal. You are designated Test Group Kalama Drath, buzzes, his optical lenses glowing a faint analytical red. The Omnissiah has provided new implements of purification. You will be graced with their first application in a live fire environment. Data must be gathered. Servitors push crates into the trench. Inside are not laser guns. They are bulky Baroque weapons leaking fluid from poorly sealed tubes. This Drath intones, holding one up, is the irradiation engine, Mark II, Theta. Its function is to cleanse the battlefield of organic-based impediments. You will advance on the enemy position at 7 Gamma. You will activate the device when you are within 20 meters. You will maintain activation until your vital signs cease transmission. What does it do? A Legionnaire asks, his voice trembling as he hefts the unstable-looking weapon. A green, viscous fluid is dripping from a nozzle onto his boot, making the leather smoke. It projects a wide-spectrum radiological wave. Drath buzzes as if explaining to a child. All biological matter within the effective radius will be rapidly rendered. Flesh, sinew, bone. The resultant data on Xenos mutant degradation will be invaluable. What about us? 991 Beta whispers, her eyes fixed on the dripping poison. Drath's lenses swivel to her. You are within the effective radius. Your degradation will also provide invaluable data. You are, in fact, the primary control data group. We have insufficient rad shielding for the device at this scale. Your biological readings will allow us to calibrate the minimum shielding required for more valuable operators. Do not fail the Omnissiah. They are pushed out of the trench, a forlorn hope of 30 Legionnaires, each carrying one of the leaking, hissing weapons. They are walking dirty bombs. They don't even make it to the traitor lines. A stray autocannon shell hits one of them. The man doesn't just explode, he melts. The irradiation engine ruptures and a wave of invisible, sickening heat washes over the squad. 779 Alpha Rho screams as the skin on his hands, exposed by his fingerless gloves, blisters and sloughs off. The Legionnaires collapse, coughing up blood, their insides cooking. From his observation post, Magos Drath clicks and whirs, his servitors diligently recording the agony. Fascinating. Note the accelerated tissue decay, cascade failure, data point valuable. They are left to die in no man's land. Only a handful, including 779 Alpha Rho and 991 Beta who were at the edge of the blast, managed to crawl back. Their bodies permanently scarred, their lifespans, now measured in months. Varus looks them over, makes a note on his slate, and assigns them to the next mission. That mission comes 2 days later. A Tyrannid bio-artillery spire has been shattered, its internal capillary towers ruptured, spewing a continent-wide cloud of digestive phages and flesh-eating spores. The air is a living, swirling soup of death. A containment breach has occurred. A Munitorum official tells them his face, hidden behind a heavy rebreather mask, his voice synthesized. He stands a safe kilometer away, flanked by guardsmen in full sealed biohazard gear. Imperial assets 12 Lehman Russ tanks are trapped in the primary spore cloud. They are non-functional but salvageable. You will proceed into the affected zone. You will secure the tanks until retrieval teams can be dispatched. Our wargear Sir 779 Alpha Rho asks, his voice raw from the radiation burns in his throat. Our protection, the official stares at him. You are a penal legion. Your absolution is your protection. The Emperor's faith is your rebreather. Now go. They are marched at bayonet point into the fog. It is not mist. It is a thick yellow-green miasma that writhes as if alive. It smells of vinegar and rotten meat. The moment it touches their skin, it burns. They have no masks, no sealed suits. They wrap their tunics around their faces, a gesture of pathetic futility. Within 10 steps, men begin to choke. The spores are in their lungs. They claw at their throats, coughing up thick fungal ropes. 991 Beta stumbles, a scream caught in her throat as she looks at her hands. The skin is bubbling small grey-white mushrooms, visibly sprouting from her knuckles. Keep moving, 779 Alpha Rho yells, dragging her. But he too is infected. He can feel something moving under his skin, a terrible, itching, burrowing sensation. They find the tanks. They are covered in a throbbing, pulsating carpet of alien fungus. The crews inside are long dead, their bodies dissolved and consumed, their armor filled with a pulsing grey sludge. Secure the perimeter! A Legionnaire gurgles before his own chest, bursts open, a spray of yellow spores erupting from his lungs. They are not here to save the tanks. They are here to see if the tanks can be saved. They are a biological litmus test. By the time a clean team arrives hours later, half the Legionnaires are dead, their bodies little more than nutrient slurry for the rapidly spreading Xenos flora. The survivors are simply hosed down with chemical fire and sent back to the line. But the final purest expression of their purpose comes at the siege of the Adamantine Gate, a chaos-held fortress that has resisted the Imperial assault for months. The fortress walls are lined with thousands of heavy bolters, lascannons, and autocannons. Commissar General Vorlath, the supreme commander of the campaign, briefs Varus himself. The Legionnaires are assembled to listen. The enemy's ammunition stores are significant, Vorlath says, his voice booming over a parade ground vox. They fire upon any target of opportunity, wasting shots on single-man units. We cannot advance our armor until those primary gun nests are depleted. He turns his gaze upon the assembled Penal Legion. There are nearly 1,000 of them, fresh pressed from the prison ships. You are the solution. You are the ablative assault. The plan is simple, horrifyingly simple. You will advance on the Adamantine Gate. In waves, you will not stop. You will not take cover. You will present yourselves as targets. You will run at the wall until they run out of bullets. This is not a mission to win. This is not a mission to capture. This is a mission to drain. They are not a sword. They are not even a shield. They are a sponge sent to soak up the enemy's bullets so that the real army can advance over their corpses. And Varus adds, his voice cold, the first wave will carry these. Servitors dump crude satchel charges at their feet. You will not reach the wall, Varus states, but you will run at the wall. And when they kill you, the man behind you will pick up your charge and continue running. And so on until the last of you is a red stain on the rockcrete. This is your glorious purpose. This is your great service. Do not disappoint me. The assault is an image from hell. The first wave of 500 Legionnaires screams charging across the open plain. The Chaos Fortress opens up. It is not a battle, it is a harvest. Hundreds of heavy bolters chew the open ground, and the entire wave is reduced to a red mist in under 30 seconds. Second wave, Varus roars, advance. The next 500 seeing the fate of their comrades balk. The collars whine, thump, thump, thump. The commissar's work begins, and the wave is driven forward by terror into the still smoking meat grinder. They too are annihilated, and so it continues. For an entire day, new penal legions are brought up wave after wave, their only purpose to run into the gunfire, to make the traitors pull their triggers to deplete the stockpiles. They are dying literally to make the enemy waste ammunition. The soul-crushing is complete. They are not even human anymore. They are bullets fired in reverse. The ablative assault on the adamantine gate did not end after a day. It continued for a week. The fields before the fortress became a charnel plain, a layered carpet of human remains so thick that the ground itself was no longer visible. Fresh legionnaires were brought in, marched over the bodies of the previous wave, and were in turn cut down. The traitor guns fired and fired and fired until inevitably the thud-thud-thud of the heavy bolters began to slow. The Lascanon batteries fired less often, their power cells running dry. The Imperium's strategy and its monstrous inhuman arithmetic had worked. The enemy was running low on ammunition, just as Munitorum projections had calculated. For the survivors, this was the breaking point. The human mind can only absorb so much horror. It can only be compressed by so much terror before it either shatters or warps into something else entirely. The legionnaires who, by some statistical impossibility, had survived the constant week-long exposure to this absolute certainty of death were no longer human. Their reason had been flensed from them, leaving only the raw, exposed nerves of madness. This degradation took two forms. First, there was the fury. During a lull, a moment when the traitor guns were silent, conserving their last rounds, a new assault was ordered. The legionnaires were to retrieve the unexploded satchel charges from the field of corpses. Commissar Varus stood on the parapet, detonator in hand, watching. A legionnaire, a new recruit. His face still unlined by the horrors, froze at the trench ladder. He was weeping. I can't. I won't. It's just death. Varus sighed, his finger moving to the wrist slate. Thump. But the execution was a spark in a promethium-filled room. The man next to the victim, a veteran of the rad-cleansing mission, his skin still weeping from chemical burns, watched his comrade's head explode. And he began to laugh. It was not a human sound. It was a high, cackling, hysterical shriek. Death, huh? You think that scares us? You think that scares us? He turned his eyes wide, and utterly insane blood vessels burst in their whites. He was not looking at Varus. He was looking at the adamantine gate. He was looking at the entire hateful universe. We are already dead, he screamed. Before Varus could react, the legionnaire vaulted over the parapet. But he was not running at the enemy. He was running for them. He had no laser gun. He had thrown it away. He was armed only with his bayonet and his madness. Death, death to all death. He was not obeying an order. He was not driven by fear of the collar. His mind had snapped, and in its breaking it had found a single terrible moment of pure, ecstatic freedom. The freedom of the man who has absolutely nothing left to lose, not even his own sanity. A traitor heavy bolter roused by the single screaming figure opened up. Thud, thud, thud. The rounds tore the legionnaire apart. But his laugh was cut off mid-shriek, and other legionnaires infected by his madness followed him. This was the condemned man's fury. It was a berserker rage, a final screaming act of defiance against a universe that had condemned them. They became the most terrifying shock troops imaginable. They did not want to live. They did not fear death. They only lusted with their last fragments of being to inflict as much pain on their tormentors as possible before they were annihilated. Varus watched his finger held back from the detonator. This was useful. This was a functional madness. But there was another more common and far more terrible fate. There was the apathy. The soldier 779 Alpha Rho was no longer a soldier. He was a thing. He sat in the mud, his back against the corpse of another Legionnaire, and methodically ate his nutrient bar. A yard away, a man who had lost his mind in a different way was rhythmically smashing his own head against the ferrocrete wall, a low animal moan coming from his throat. Thump. 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 779 Alpha Rho did not look up. He did not care. He finished his bar, licked the wrapper clean, and checked his laser gun. The action was stiff with dried gore. He began to clean it. 991 Beta sat beside him. She was rocking back and forth, back and forth. She was silent. She had not spoken in 3 days, not since she had been forced to use the body of another Legionnaire as a shield against a flamer burst. The flesh had cooked, and the smell had finally broken her. Wire 779 Alpha Rho said, his voice a dead, toneless rasp. She did not respond, just rocked. Wire, on the line, 200 meters. She stopped rocking. She looked up. Her eyes were not insane. They were empty. A clear, perfect, horrifying void. She picked up her laser gun, her movements slow, mechanical like a servitor. She raised the weapon, sighted and fired. Pew. A flash in the distance. She lowered the weapon. She began to rock again. This was the true crushing of the soul. This was the end state the Imperium desired. The rage was useful, but it was unpredictable. This was perfection. These Legionnaires had become ghosts. They were hollowed-out shells, their consciousness scoured away by trauma. They ate without tasting. They walked past piles of rotting dead without flinching. They watched their comrades die, and their only thought was to retrieve the ammunition from the corpse. They fired their weapons with the same emotional engagement a factory servitor would have welding a pipe. When the order came to charge, they did not scream with rage. They did not cry with fear. They simply stood in unison and began to walk. They walked at a steady funereal pace into the guns, firing their laser guns with mechanical precision. They did not duck. They did not weave. When the man in front of them was eviscerated, they simply stepped over his remains and continued walking. Their souls were gone, burned out like a spent charge pack. All that remained was a body, a collar, and an echo of obedience. The machine had its perfect disposable tool. The world is a dying jungle of black, writhing flora choked in the greasy spore fog of a tyrannid invasion. The remnants of the Penal Legion, less than 200 now, a mix of hollowed-out veterans like 779 Alpha Rho and 991 Beta, and new terrified replacements are ordered into a shallow, hastily dug defensive line. It is not a trench. It is a ditch, a grave waiting to be filled. In front of them, the jungle itself seems to be screaming. It is a high-pitched, chittering, wet, skittering sound that grows louder by the second, a billion tiny claws on rock. And then they see it. The jungle parts, and a living, surging, white and purple river of chitin and teeth pours out. Hormagaunts, their scythe-like talons clicking, led a wave of termagants, their flesh-borer weapons already spitting living ammunition. It is not an army. It is a biological tide, an all-consuming wave of hunger. The enemy is in front, a sea of certain death. The Legionnaires, the hollowed ones, mechanically raise their laser guns. The new ones begin to weep or pray to a god-emperor who has long since abandoned them. 759 Alpha Rho's laser gun clicks. The charge pack is loose. He slams it back into place with the heel of his hand, his movements automatic, his face devoid of all expression. He glances to his side. 991 Beta is sighting down her own weapon, her breathing shallow, her eyes fixed on the charging Xenos. Then 779 Alpha Rho's gaze drifts backward. A survival instinct, a soldier's reflex, to check his line of retreat, to see where the support line is. He sees it. 50 meters behind their ditch, there is a real defensive wall. It is a breastwork of adamantium plates and ferrocrete barricades manned not by scum, but by the clean professional soldiers of the 114th Cadian gatekeepers. They are immaculate in their fatigues, their helmets are polished, and their weapons are ready. A line of heavy bolter teams is dug in their weapons, aimed not over the Legionnaires' heads, but at them. The muzzles are depressed, set to scythe the ditch clean. Further back, the silhouettes of Lehman Russ battle tanks loom their main cannons and hull-mounted las cannons pointing in the same direction directly at the Penal Legion's backs. On the Cadian parapet standing next to a Cadian officer is Commissar Varus. He is not in the ditch with his charges. He is with the real soldiers. He has his bolt pistol out, but he is not aiming it. He is simply watching. The Cadian officer speaks into his vox, then gives Varus a curt professional nod. The order is not spoken, but it is as clear as an executioner's blade. Line will hold Varus's voice crackles over the Legion's comm bead, a sound like static and doom. The Emperor abhors a coward. You will not take one step back. The trap is absolute. The mechanism is perfect. The Legionnaires are not a line of defense. They are a living tripwire. They are a flesh-and-bone speed bump designed to momentarily slow the Tyrannid charge, to break up its cohesion, to force the Xenos to stop, and feed for a few precious seconds. The choice is laid bare in all its grim finality. If they run forward, if they charge to meet the Tyrannids, they will be ripped to shreds, dissolved by acid, and consumed by the swarm. If they break, if they falter, if they try to retreat even a single meter, Varus will give the signal. The collars will detonate, and the Cadian heavy bolters will open fire. The 114th will cleanse the line of cowards, purging the Legionnaires with overlapping fields of fire before turning their guns on the Tyrannid wave that follows. Death is in front, annihilation is behind. 779 Alpha Rho turns his gaze back to the front. The Hormagaunts are less than 100 meters away, their alien screams, now a physical feeling wave of sound. He understands. There is no hope. There is no forgiveness, there is only the method of one's death, to die by the Xeno or to be executed as a coward by your own. He looks at 991 Beta. She has seen it too. The void in her eyes is now a black, cold certainty. For nothing, she whispers the first words she has spoken in days. For the Emperor, 579 Alpha Rho replies, his voice a dead, ironic rasp. He raises his lasgun to his shoulder. He does not do it out of loyalty. He does not do it out of courage. He does it because in a universe of impossible, agonizing choices, it is the only one that is not a confession of his own damnation. Fire he commands to no one in particular. The Penal Legion opens fire. They are caught between the hammer of the Xenos and the anvil of the Imperium, and they are about to be crushed. The Tyrannid swarm was a force of nature. The anvil and hammer crushed the Legion. But the crushing was not absolute. The Cadian line held their guns, vaporizing the Xenos that managed to swarm over the Legion's corpses. By some impossible quirk of fate, a handful of survivors were pulled from the gore when the battle subsided, and 79 Alpha Rho among them, buried under a pile of chitinous bodies, his lungs burning. 991 Beta was gone, a severed arm still clutching a lasgun, the only sign she had ever existed. The survivors are not given time to recover. They are folded into a new batch of replacements loaded onto a transport and sent to yet another hell. This one is worse. The world is called Cythera Malefica. The very air is wrong. It is thick, oily, and smells of ozone and soured milk. The sky is not sky. It is a bruised, swirling vortex of purple and sick green, a tear in reality that stares down like a malevolent eye. This is a chaos-infested world, a place where the laws of physics are suggestions and reality itself is poisoned by the warp. The Legion is tasked with clearing the Gorgon's Labyrinth, a shattered hive city whose streets have rearranged themselves into an impossible non-Euclidean maze. Whispers echo from the walls, whispers in a language that hurts, to hear promises of power, of rest, of an end to the pain. The Legionnaires are already broken in mind and spirit. They are a fertile ground for the seeds of chaos. The exposure is constant, insidious. It is not a frontal assault. It is a creeping sickness of the soul that manifests in the flesh. A Legionnaire, a new replacement, stops his head cocked. "Do you hear that?" he asks. It's singing. It's beautiful. He is executed by Varus before he can finish the sentence. But the physical corruption is worse. It is undeniable. 779 Alpha Rho is on watch, his back pressed against a wall of pulsing, veiny rockcrete. He looks at his left hand, the one burned by the radiation weapon. The skin had healed, but it had healed wrong. It is slick grey and scaly. He watches in mute horror as his thumbnail splits and a small, twitching, fleshy tendril emerges from the quick. He stifles a gasp. He grabs his bayonet, his hand shaking. This is not a wound. This is a gift. This is the touch of the arch-enemy. He knows with cold, stark terror what this means. He looks around. The trench is dark. No one is watching. He puts the tip of the bayonet into the corrupted flesh under the nail and prays to the Emperor he no longer believes in. He grits his teeth until his jaw screams and levers the entire nail and the tendril beneath it off his thumb. The pain is a white, blinding nova. He shoves his fist into his mouth to keep from screaming blood pouring down his arm. He has bought himself time. He has hidden the evidence. He is not the only one. The corruption is rampant. The Legionnaire's bodies, weakened by starvation radiation and biological warfare, are failing them. One man's eyes melt, fusing into a single weeping vertical slit. He tries to hide it under his helmet. Another finds his ribs beginning to push out of his skin, forming a crude external carapace. Commissar Varus is no longer just a jailer. He is an executioner of the Holy Ordo Hereticus. His patrols become purity inspections. He walks the line not with his bolt pistol, but with a compact, triple-barreled hand flamer. He stops in front of a Legionnaire who is trying to hide his arm, which has swollen to twice its normal size, the skin a translucent purple. "Show me your hands," Varus commands. It's just a sting, Commissar. An insect." The man whimpers. "Show me. Your hands." The man reluctantly holds out his arm. The flesh splits as he does so, and 3 new spider-like chitinous fingers burst from his wrist, twitching and grasping. The man screams a sound of pure, soul-shattering terror at his own betrayal. "No, it's not me. It's not." Varus does not speak. He does not pass judgment. He simply raises the hand flamer. Whoosh! A torrent of superheated promethium envelops the Legionnaire. He shrieks a sound that is not human as he is instantly wreathed in fire. The smell of cooking, corrupted flesh fills the trench. Varus holds the trigger down his face, impassive, until the man is nothing but a charred, bubbling pile of slag. The mutation burned away with the body. "The flesh is weak," Varus intones the flames, reflecting in his mirrored visor. "It is a vessel prone to corruption. Any who feel the touch of the archenemy, any who feel their flesh betraying the Emperor's divine form, will report for immediate purification." He looks at the other Legionnaires, his gaze pausing on 779 Alpha Rho, whose hand is wrapped in a bloody rag. To conceal a mutation is to embrace it. It is the ultimate heresy, and it will be cleansed with fire. 779 Alpha Rho stares back, his face a mask of stone, the pain in his thumb a throbbing, cold terror. He has a new enemy. Not just the Xeno. Not just the heretic, not just the commissar, his own body, his own blood. Even in his very cells there is no escape. The Imperium demands his service, and the warp demands his soul, and his flesh is the traitorous battleground upon which they fight. They are pulled from the line. The survivors of the Chaos World, fewer than 50, are loaded onto a shuttle. 779 Alpha Rho is among them, his thumb a raw, throbbing knot of scar tissue he must constantly pick at to prevent the new alien flesh from growing back. They are not taken to a forward trench. They are taken to a high-orbit battle barge, a place of cold steel, quiet efficiency, and clean air. The contrast is jarring, disorienting. They are hosed down, deloused, and given new, clean, black fatigues. Their old, bloody, scavenged armor is taken and incinerated. They are marched into a briefing room. It is well lit. Standing at the front is not Varus. It is a man they have never seen. He is old, his face a web of ancient scars, one eye a milky dead orb. He wears the black uniform of the commissariat, but it is stripped of all rank and regalia save for a single skull-shaped medallion. But the man who stands beside him, he is the true power. He is a Lord Inquisitor. His presence is a physical weight in the room, a cold, suffocating pressure of absolute authority. His armor is black, inlaid with silver, and his eyes are augmetic, a flat ruby red that seems to see not their faces, but their souls. You are the dregs, the Inquisitor's voice, a dry, cultured rasp, echoes in the room. The absolute final refuse of a dozen penal legions, the survivors, the ones who through sheer animalistic cunning, base treachery, or some sick-minded miracle have managed to not die. He paces before them. Normally this would be an administrative error, a resource mismanaged. You should have been expended on some nameless wall long ago. But a mismanaged resource can still be an opportunity. The old one-eyed commissar speaks his voice like gravel. You all know the myth, the legend whispered in the holds and the punishment pens. The story of Colonel Schaefer. A flicker of something passes through the Legionnaires. 779 Alpha Rho has heard it. The grim fairy tale. The story of the last chances. The legend the commissar continues tells of the 13th Penal Legion. Schaefer's last chances. A hand-picked unit of the galaxy's worst scum given the most impossible missions. Assassinations, sabotage. Suicide runs so deep into enemy territory that no sane commander would ever conceive of them. He leans in, and the legend says that those who succeed, those who survive, are given a full unconditional pardon, a clean slate, a new life. He smiles a terrifying, humorless baring of teeth. The legend, for once, is true. A collective intake of breath. This is it. The promise. The one they all clung to, the one 779 Alpha Rho had dismissed as a lie. We, the Inquisitor says, gesturing to himself, are offering you that chance. That one final chance. A hololith activates in the center of the room. It shows a fortress. But this is not the adamantine gate, a fortress of mere rock and steel. This is a living thing, a temple of pulsating cancerous flesh and black obsidian spikes that tear at the sky. It is the heart of the chaos infestation on Cythera Malefica, the sanctum of the gaping maw. The enemy warpsmith Azathoth the Flayer is performing a ritual in this sanctum, the Inquisitor explains. In 36 hours, he will sacrifice a captured astropath choir. When he does, he will tear this entire subsector of reality open, creating a new Eye of Terror. Your Cadian gatekeepers and your Lehman Russ tanks are useless against this. He points at them. But you are scum. You are tainted. You are expendable. You are the perfect scalpel. You will be inserted via a low-orbit drop pod here. He indicates a sewage outflow in the deepest, most corrupted part of the hive. Your mission is simple, the old commissar growls. You will infiltrate the sanctum. You will fight your way to the central sacrificial spire. You will plant this. A servitor rolls forward carrying a single device. It is not a satchel charge. It is a vortex warhead, its casing swirling with contained non-Euclidean energies. This is a one-shot, one-way ticket, the Inquisitor says. It will detonate, and it will suck this entire temple and Azathoth and the entire city into the warp. There is no extraction. There is no relief force. But, Sir 779 Alpha Rho speaks his voice hoarse. If there is no extraction, how do we get the pardon? The Inquisitor looks at him, his red augmetic eyes seeming to smile. Ah, the crux of it. The promise seems realer, this time, does it not more official? He steps close to 779 Alpha Rho. It is very real, Legionnaire. Survive. Survive the infiltration. Survive the chaos spawn. Survive planting the charge. Survive the vortex detonation. Get yourself clear by any means necessary and find your way back to any Imperial line anywhere in this system. Present this. He tosses 779 Alpha Rho a small silver coin stamped with the inquisitorial rosette. Present that and your freedom is absolute. Your sins are forgiven. You will be a hero of the Imperium. 779 Alpha Rho looks at the coin. It is heavy. It is real. He closes his burned, mutated hand around it. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime, a single, toxic drop of hope seeps into his soul. He looks up. The Inquisitor is still smiling. Of course, the Inquisitor adds, his voice dropping to a whisper. The chances of you surviving the infiltration are 1 in 1,000. The chances of you surviving to plant the bomb are 1 in 1,000,000. The chances of you surviving the vortex are mathematically non-existent. The hope dies, strangled in its cradle. This is not a mission of survival. The old commissar snarls. This is just a more efficient way of ensuring your death serves a purpose. It is a way to make sure that the scum of the Imperium dies while trying to achieve the impossible. Now pick up your charge packs. Your new collars are waiting. He gestures. A tech priest approaches. These collars are not the old bulky explosive packed rings. They are sleek silver and lined with intricate circuitry. These are not explosive, the Inquisitor says, answering their unspoken question. They are more precise. They are synaptic scramblers. But more importantly, they contain the telemetric link for the Vortex warhead. When I press this button, he holds up a black, ornate trigger. The warhead detonates. You are quite literally the bomb's fuse. You do not need to survive, the Inquisitor concludes. You only need to get it there. Go and be redeemed in the only way that matters: annihilation. The insertion is not a combat drop. It is a garbage disposal. The 50 last chances are crammed into a single unshielded drop pod, a rusted iron coffin that screams through the atmosphere. It does not land. It impacts, crashing through the ferrocrete crust of the hive city and plunging into the raw, stinking river of the main sewer outflow. The doors blast open, and they are submerged in a torrent of filth and industrial waste. Move, the old one-eyed Commissar Hecate growls. He is the only one who accompanied them, the Inquisitor's loyal, doomed dog. The sanctum is upstream. The carrier is at the front. The carrier is 779 Alpha Rho. The Vortex warhead is a cold, heavy, humming weight, strapped to his back, a physical manifestation of his damnation. He wades through the chest-deep sludge, his mutated hand wrapped in rags, throbbing in the corrosive filth. The sewer is not empty. The walls are not steel. They are a pulsating fleshy membrane, and the whispers of the Chaos Gods are not in their heads. They are echoing from the very walls, a constant, seductive, maddening chorus. Rest. Just rest. Lay down in the muck. It is so warm, so welcoming. A Legionnaire, his eyes wide and milky, stops. He's right. He sighs, a look of profound peace on his face. It's over. He begins to lower himself into the filth. Commissar Hecate raises his bolt pistol. The sound is flat and dull in the enclosed space. Boom! The only rest is in Death Fool. Move. They move. They are not a military unit. They are a funeral procession staggering toward their own grave. They fight not with tactics, but with the weary, desperate spite of cornered animals. Mutated cultists, their bodies a grotesque fusion of man and machine, boil up from the sludge. The last chances meet them. There is no clean last fire. It is a chaotic thrashing melee in the dark and the filth. Bayonets, knives, and bare hands. Men are dragged under their screams, ending in a wet gurgle. No one stops to help them. Of the 50 who landed, 20 make it out of the sewer, climbing a ladder of rusted iron rungs into the lower sanctum. They are in the labyrinth. The air is thick with incense and the smell of rendered fat. They are in the sacrificial pens, but they are not alone. A squad of traitor guardsmen, their eyes glowing with a sick green light, stands guard. The fight is short, brutal, and utterly pathetic. The Chancers, armed with faulty laser guns and knives, charge the traitors, who are armed with heavy stubbers and carapace armor. It is a massacre. 10 more Legionnaires are cut down in the first volley. Sevafin next to 779 Alpha Rho. A Legionnaire is hit in the stomach. He falls clutching his guts. "Help me," he gasps. "By the throne. I don't want to die here." 779 Alpha Rho doesn't even look at him. He steps over his writhing body, firing his laser gun on instinct, his face a mask of cold, dead apathy. He is not fighting for loyalty. He is not fighting for the Emperor. He is not even fighting for the promise of freedom. He is simply walking. He is a dead man, his only remaining function to carry a package. He is fighting because he is too exhausted to do anything else. Finally, only 6 of them are left, 779 Alpha Rho Commissar Hecate and 4 others. They kick open a final rune-etched door and find themselves in the central spire. It is a vast cathedral-sized cavern. In the center, a pillar of light, a vortex of raw warp energy tears at the sky. At its base is the source, a screaming, writhing mass of fused human bodies, the astropath choir, their minds being burned alive to fuel the ritual. And standing before it, his back to them, is Azathoth the Flayer. He is a giant, a Chaos Space Marine in Terminator armor, his form a monstrous fusion of warped metal demonic flesh and writhing mechadendrites that are plugged directly into the screaming pillar. "It is done," Commissar Hecate gasps, his face pale. "Carrier, plant the charge, now!" As if summoned, a new group of figures steps from the shadows. They are not cultists. They are Chaos Space Marines, the Warpsmith's honor guard. 5 of them. They raise their bolters. For the Emperor, Hecate snarls a final reflexive dogma. He raises his bolt pistol. The Chance's charge. It is not a charge. It is a final suicidal spasm. The bolter-fire is a wall of instant death. The 4 Legionnaires are vaporized. Hecate is hit, his torso exploding. 779 Alpha Rho is struck in the leg. The mass-reactive shell detonates, and his leg is gone below the knee. He is thrown backward, crashing to the stone floor, screaming as the raw, shocking pain cuts through his apathy. It is over. He has failed. He is going to die here at the feet of monsters. Azathoth turns. His helmet is the skull of some vast, horned beast. He looks down at the bleeding, broken Legionnaire. He laughs, a sound like a distorted Vox transmission and a hyena's howl. He ignores him, dismissing him as insignificant, and turns back to his ritual. 779 Alpha Rho lies in his own blood. He is dying. He looks at the silver inquisitorial coin in his hand, the one he's been clutching. The pardon, the freedom. It was a lie. The whole damned rotten galaxy was a lie. He does not feel anger. He does not feel fear. He just feels a profound, infinite weariness. He wants it to stop. The pain, the whispers, the lies, the war. He wants it all to end. He looks at the vortex warhead still strapped to his back. He looks at Azathoth, his arms raised, the ritual reaching its crescendo. With a final gasping groan, 779 Alpha Rho begins to crawl. He pulls himself forward with his one good hand and his one good leg dragging his pulped, ruined limb behind him. He is a broken, bloody smear on the floor. He is not crawling for the Emperor. He is not crawling for redemption. He is crawling out of pure, spiteful exhaustion. If he is to die, he will take this whole screaming madhouse with him. "Lord Inquisitor," a voice says, calm and clear. It is the Inquisitor's bridge. A holomap shows a single flickering red light. The carrier's vitals are critical. He is crawling toward the focal point. He is within the minimum blast radius. The Inquisitor, standing watching the map, nods. He has done adequately. He has been spotted. Lord the Warpsmith's guard is moving to engage. The Inquisitor raises his hand, the black ornate trigger in his palm. No, his service is complete. Let his sin be purged. Back in the sanctum, 779 Alpha Rho looks up. A Chaos Marine is striding toward him, its bolt gun aimed at his head. 779 Alpha Rho closes his eyes. He does not pray. He clutches the useless coin, and for a second he tries to remember the color of a real sky. He doesn't even feel the end. The Inquisitor presses the button. There is no sound, no explosion. There is only a silence that is louder than any bomb. A pinprick of absolute cold blackness appears where 779 Alpha Rho lay. And then the universe folds. The light, the sound, the screaming choir, Azathoth, the Chaos Marines, the entire sanctum of the gaping maw, all of it is sucked, screaming into the void. A vacuum, a vortex, and then nothing. On the Inquisitor's bridge, the holomap flashes red, then goes to static. Signal. Lost, Lord. Detonation confirmed. The warp rift is collapsing. The Inquisitor nods a flicker of satisfaction in his augmetic eyes. It is done. A Vox officer at another station turns his face bright. My lord, a priority message from the Emperor's spears. Kill Team Cassian reports they have breached the outer defenses. They are claiming a miraculous sign. The enemy's central fortress has vanished. They are advancing unopposed. They are claiming the victory in the Emperor's name. The Inquisitor permits himself a thin, cold smile. As it should be. Their faith was their weapon. Send a dispatch to Lord General Vorlath. Inform him that the 5th Company of the Emperor's spears, guided by my hand, struck the killing blow against the archenemy. Their noble sacrifice has saved this sector. And Lord the Vox officer asks the telemetry file for Penal Unit 13. Last chances. The Inquisitor turns his red eyes seeming to burn. What penal unit? There was no such unit. There was only a miscalculation in the enemy's ritual. A glorious victory for the Space Marines. Do you understand? Yes, my lord. Erase the file. It is irrelevant data. The officer types. The designation PL779 Alpha Rho and the 50 names with it are deleted from the Imperial record. His sacrifice is not just forgotten. It has been stolen. It never happened. The truth is what happened to 779 Alpha Rho. The truth is a data file erased, a name unspoken, a sacrifice stolen and attributed to a space marine forgotten before the vortex that consumed him had even cooled. The truth is oblivion, but in the dark, wet, stinking holds of the prison transports, in the brief, terrified silences between artillery barrages, the truth has no currency. Only legends do. Legends are more durable. They are the moldy crust of hope that the Legionnaires pass between themselves, the one thing the commissars cannot or will not fully eradicate. And this is the greatest legend of all, the story of the one who made it. They all tell it in 1,000 different forms on 1,000 different worlds. But the most common version is the story of Legionnaire 088 Cade of the Phlegethon 7th Penal Legion. As the legend goes, Cade's legion was part of an ablative assault, just like all the others. But Cade, a rat catcher from a hive sump, knew how to survive. He didn't run. He burrowed. He buried himself under the corpses of the first wave and lay there for 3 days, breathing through a filtration straw stolen from a dead Cadian. His mission, along with 1,000 others, was to expend the ammunition of a Chaos Reaver Titan. When the battle was over, when the Imperial forces had retreated, leaving the field to the dead, Cade emerged. The legend says he spent 2 weeks in the wasteland. Alone. He hunted the Xenos scavengers that picked at the corpses. He drank lubricant from the wrecks of Lehman Russ tanks. He stalked the Titan he was meant to die attacking. And on the 3rd week, armed only with 2 melter bombs salvaged from the dead and a belly full of raw, spiteful hatred, he scaled the dormant war machine. He planted the charges on the primary leg actuator and blew its knee clean off, crippling the god machine. He was presumed dead, an error in the Administratum's great bloody ledger, until a month later. A figure stumbles out of the toxic fog and toward the Imperial front lines. It is 088 Cade. He is no longer a man. He is a walking ruin. His left arm is a charred, blackened stump, cauterized by a defensive laser. His face is a melted, waxy mask. But he is alive. The Cadian sentries aim their laser guns, shouting warnings. Cade ignores them. He walks past them through the stunned, silent camp, his one good eye fixed on a single point. He does not stop until he reaches the command tent. He walks right in, trailing mud and blood, and collapses at the feet of the Lord Commissar. He holds up a data slate salvaged from the Titan's cockpit. Target neutralized. Cade rasps, his throat burned by chemicals. Mission complete. He looks up at the Commissar. He does not beg. He does not plead. He has gone beyond that. He simply waits. He waits for his promise, his freedom. And here the legend always splits. There are 2 endings. The first ending is the one the veterans, the hollowed out ones, tell. They tell it with a grim, knowing nod. In this version, the Lord Commissar looks down at the wrecked, mutated, half-dead thing at his feet. He sees a contradiction. A Legionnaire who survived. A man who has seen too much, been through too much. He is no longer a tool, he is a broken, jagged shard. He is dangerous. He is a vector for the madness and corruption of the wastes. He is an administrative nightmare. The Commissar places a gauntleted hand on Cade's head as if in blessing. "You have done the Emperor's will, 88 Cade," the Commissar says, his voice soft. "Your long penance is finally over. Your sins are forgiven." He draws his bolt pistol. Cade looks up, and in his one ruined eye there is a glimmer of understanding. Boom! The Commissar holsters his weapon, turning to his aide. "See that this man's name is marked in the ledger. Absolved by bolt. His soul is pure. This is the merciful ending. This is the realistic one. But that is not the story the new recruits tell. That is not the lie that fuels them. They tell the second ending. In their version, the Lord Commissar stares at Cade for a long, silent minute. Then he nods. Slowly. He takes a key from his belt, a heavy iron thing. He kneels, and the Legionnaires listening to the story always hold their breath at this part. He inserts the key into the back of Cade's collar. There is a hiss of depressurization. A loud click. The Commissar pulls the heavy, scarred, explosive ring from Cade's neck and throws it into the mud. "Your debt is paid," the Commissar says. "The Emperor accepts your service. You are free." Cade is taken to a medical bay. His wounds are treated. He is given 3 days of rest. He is given a new, clean Cadian uniform. He is given a new, beautifully maintained Lucius pattern lasgun. He is given a new designation, Trooper Cade, and assigned to the 101st Cadian Infantry Regiment. He has done it. He has survived. He has graduated. He is a true soldier of the Imperium. And the Legionnaires who tell this story smile because it means it's possible. But the old veterans, the ones like 779 Alpha Rho, they hear this ending and they laugh a dry, rasping sound. Because they know the truth. He hasn't been freed. He has simply been promoted. He has graduated from being disposable to being expendable. He is no longer a prisoner forced to run at the guns from fear. He is now a soldier expected to willingly run at the guns for honor. He has simply swapped a metal collar for a cloth one. His freedom is the freedom to die in the very next battle, in the very next trench, just another nameless guardsman in the vast, grinding meat grinder of the Imperial Guard. His life expectancy has increased from 1 day to perhaps 3. This in the Imperium is the greatest hope you can have. The battle is over. The Tyrannid wave has been broken, shattered on the anvil of the Cadian line after being blunted by the hammer of the Penal Legion. The field where 779 Alpha Rho and 991 Beta made their last stand is a sea of corpses, a grotesque soup of purple chitin green ichor and the grey-clad bodies of the damned. The toxic rain has returned a gentle, hissing drizzle that washes the blood from the torn flesh, making the mangled bodies gleam in the sickly yellow light. A new figure moves across this landscape of death. It is not a soldier. It is not a commissar. It is a thing. A servitor, its lower half a set of tracked wheels, its upper body a hunched, robed torso. Its face is a smooth, blank plate of brass. From its back, 4 multi-jointed arms extend, each ending in a pincer-like claw. It is an administratum autoscribe, a mort collector. It moves with a slow, grinding, mechanical purpose. It is not here to mourn. It is not here to honor. It is here to audit. It stops at the half-devoured corpse of a Legionnaire. One of its metal arms extends the pincer claw, deftly snapping the crude metal dog tag from the chain around the corpse's neck. The servitor's internal cogitator whirs. Designate PL-663 Theta status expended ammunition cost null. The servitor drops the tag into a bloody sack, a clinking metallic sound. It moves on. It stops at the severed arm of 991 Beta, the one still clutching the lasgun. It ignores the arm. It finds her collar half buried in the mud, its internal charge unspent. It scans the serial number etched on the side. Designate PL-991 Beta status expended war gear loss 11. Lasgun Mk311 Power Pack partial. The servitor moves on its wheels, churning the gore. It is taking inventory. It is balancing the ledger. The death of a Legionnaire is not a tragedy. It is the successful closing of an account, a problem solved, a resource correctly utilized. The Administratum does not care how they died. It only cares that they died and that their expenditure was justified by the tactical outcome. This is the only eulogy they will ever receive. A checkmark on a list, a rounding error in the galactic tithe of death. This is the grim, unvarnished truth of the Penal Legion. The lie of the Emperor's forgiveness is just that a tool of control, a phantom promise to make the legs run forward. The legend of the survivor of Troopacade is a fairy tale, a flicker of heat in a universe of absolute zero. The true forgiveness, the only absolution the Imperium offers is this. It is the cold, wet mud of an unnamed battlefield. It is the beak of a corpse skull picking at your unseeing eye. It is the metal clink of your tag being dropped into a bag by a machine that does not know your name. Forgiveness is not freedom. Forgiveness is oblivion. The soul of a penal legionnaire is considered pure only at the precise moment it is violently and usefully ejected from its body. Their sin is not washed away by courage. It is simply rendered irrelevant by the act of dying. They are condemned from the moment the arbitrator's gavel falls, and their entire service is nothing but a long, agonizing, and resource-efficient method of execution. This, then, is the life and death of a penal legionnaire. It is a journey that begins with the cold, absolute judgment of an arbitrator and ends, if they are lucky, as an erased data file. It is a chronicle of calculated, weaponized despair. We have followed this path from the holding pen to the firing line, from the terror of the collar to the final spiteful act of oblivion. We have witnessed the process, the processing, the systematic industrial and absolute degradation of the human soul. This is not a perversion of the imperial system. It is not a dark, necessary secret whispered in the halls of power. It is the system's purest, most honest, and most public expression. It is the core philosophy of mankind's survival written in blood filth and the pulverized bone of its own citizens. The Imperium of Man is a colossus, a god machine of 1,000,000 worlds. But it is a machine that is dying. It is riddled with the cancer of the Xeno, the virus of the heretic, and the rot of its own crushing internal decay. It is a machine that runs on a single, inexhaustible fuel human life. In this galaxy, in this final dark age, there is no sacrifice too great, no cruelty too extreme, no suffering too profound if it buys the dying god machine one more second of agonizing, screaming life. And the Penal Legion is the most efficient, most brutal, and most honest part of that machine. It is the purest expression of the Imperial Creed. There is no innocence, there is only guilt. There is no individual, there is only the mass. There is no mercy, there is only duty. The Imperium does not hate the Penal Legionnaire. Hate is a passion. It is an emotion. The Imperium is a vast, cold, unfeeling bureaucracy. It is a machine of vellum ink and endless grinding gears. The Penal Legionnaire is not a person to be hated. They are a logistical problem to be solved. They are a statistical anomaly to be corrected. How does one clear a minefield? You apply bodies until the mines are gone. How does one exhaust an enemy's ammunition? You apply bodies until the guns fall silent. How does one test a radiological weapon? You apply bodies and record the results. The Legionnaire is an equation, a single disposable variable in a calculation of survival so vast it defies mortal comprehension. Their soul is not crushed by the orc's chopper or the tyrannid's claw. That is merely the end. The soul is crushed long before. It is crushed by the click of the disciplinary collar. It is crushed by the indifferent gaze of the commissar as he calmly taps his wrist detonator. It is crushed by the hunger that drives a man to kill his comrade for a pair of boots. It is crushed by the cold, logistical voice of the Munitorum officer who designates them as ablative. It is death by 1,000 forms, a slow, bureaucratic grinding down of the self, until all that remains is a hollow, obedient, twitching vessel. Their lives were hell, an unending, waking nightmare of terror, betrayal, and grinding physical misery. They were the lowest of the low, the scum beneath the boot of the Imperium. They were despised by the true soldiers they died to protect. They were hated by their masters. They were fodder for their enemies. And yet, in the terrible cold arithmetic of the 41st millennium, their service was real. Their deaths were meaningful. The charge of the human wave did map the orc gun emplacements, allowing the Cadian artillery to speak. The ablative assault did exhaust the traitors' ammunition, allowing the Space Marines to claim a glorious victory. The Legionnaires who walked into the spore fog did confirm the biological taint saving the tank crews that would follow. The final desperate, spiteful crawl of 779 Alpha Row did stop the ritual, and his sacrifice, stolen and misattributed, did save the sector. The lie was a lie, but the results were true. Their suffering was not in vain. Their agony was useful. Their souls, crushed, discarded, and forgotten, form the very mortar that holds the fortress of humanity together. This is the ultimate, most profound, and most twisted tragedy of all. Their damnation served the Emperor. The lens of history pulls back. It pulls back from the erased file of a single legionnaire, from the forgotten grave of an entire regiment, from the world they died to save. It settles on another world, in another system, identical in its misery. A vast iron transport ship, black with soot and rust, settles onto a landing field of stamped black earth. The rain is cold. The air is grey. The ramp lowers with a pneumatic, mournful hiss, revealing a dark, steaming, hellish interior. And from that darkness, a new tide of humanity emerges. They stumble blinking into the grey light. Hundreds of them, men and women. Their heads are shaved. Their faces are a canvas of terror, confusion, and feral rage. They are all wearing the same ill-fitting grey fatigues. They are the freshly processed, the newly condemned. They are herded into a crude, shivering line by Ogrin servitors whose electromalls crackle with blue, impatient energy. A figure waits for them. He is tall, his black leather greatcoat immaculate, shedding the toxic rain. He pulls the peaked cap of his office low, his face a shadow of grim authority. It is not Varus. It does not matter. It is another commissar. He is a cog as replaceable as the legionnaires he is about to process. He paces before them. His eyes, cold and filled with a familiar, profound disgust, scan the new faces of the damned. He sees the snarling brute who believes his strength will save him. He sees the weeping clerk who believes his innocence is a defense. He sees the hard-eyed, broken soldier who believes his training will see him through. He sees the fuel. The commissar stops. He draws a breath. He opens his mouth. And the speech, the same speech, the eternal speech begins. You are not soldiers. Soldiers have honor. Soldiers have rights. You have nothing. The words echo across the field, familiar, absolute, and unending. You have all been sentenced to death. You are already dead. The Emperor, in his infinite judgment, has merely decreed that your deaths must have meaning. The cogs of the great machine turn. The new harvest has arrived. The meat grinder roars, its iron teeth stained with the blood of 1 trillion souls. The soulless machine of the Imperium is always hungry, and it must always be fed.